I've been a Crackdown fan since 2007 when I bought it to get access to the Halo 3 beta because, let's be real, that's the only reason people bought this game. But I ended up loving Crackdown. I even loved playing online. Yeah, me, a guy who almost never plays multiplayer, but it's true. Some of the best memories I have of playing online are from this game. In fact, I think it's safe to say I had more fun with Crackdown than I ever did with Halo 3. Crackdown 2 I don't remember much about because the last time I played it was in 2010, and to the best of my memories, I ended up thinking it was okay. Played it once, didn't think much of it after that. And now we've got Crackdown 3. This game was utterly pulverized when it got released. Reviews from both sides, critics and users, just tearing this game apart piece by piece. And I do agree with some of the things that were said. Yes, graphically it looks like a mobile game. Some of the animations are embarrassingly bad, and it's very low-tech, for lack of a better term. It feels like a game that got released in 2009 instead of 2019, and even if it had released back in 2009, it still would have been considered kinda last-gen, something that belongs on the PS2. Some of you guys have probably seen that video by Crobcat, Crackdown Grade 3, where he points out all the small things comparing it to the first Crackdown, which was much better developed and put together. And while I can see what he and many others are getting at, I found that most people were needlessly ripping into this game over every little thing they could find and trying to make it seem worse than it actually was, and I think I know why. This stupid demo right here. Come on, we all saw it back in the day about how the power of cloud computing is going to allow us to destroy every little part of the map, go to every floor of every building, collapse the buildings in on itself, and blah blah fucking blah. People ate this up like it was the last supply of food on Earth, but I didn't believe a single word. For those that don't know, the concept of cloud gaming has been around since 2000 when a company called G-Cluster introduced it at E3, with the first model rolling out in 2005. Long before the PS4 and Xbox One. And does anyone remember OnLive? I played it years ago and it was a piece of shit. Cloud gaming has never worked well, and I don't believe it's going to anytime soon. Not as well as it's advertised, but back in 2013 to 2015, there was this huge craze over cloud gaming. Companies were buying up studios that specialized in it and were dumping hundreds of millions of dollars into this, desperately trying to make it work, and nothing. No dice. And that's what stopped Crackdown 3 before it even got off the runway. To say this game had a troubled development would be a huge understatement. At one point, there were 5 studios working on this game, and it took almost 5 years for Crackdown 3 to hit the market after it was announced in 2014. I don't know what happened behind the scenes, and I would love to know, but if you ask me, somebody behind this project should have come out and said, "Hey guys, we got bad news, the cloud isn't where we thought it was going to be, we're not going to be able to deliver a game like the demo you saw in 2015, so we're just going to go with a standard Crackdown game instead." Now, that would have been damaging enough, but I think at the very least, some people would have appreciated the honesty of whoever stepped forward and admitted that. But no, instead they gave us a bunch of dodgy answers, never directly answering questions, and they desperately tried saving face with that garbage Wrecking Crew multiplayer, which I recommend you play a couple rounds just to see how fucking bad it is. I wouldn't be surprised if the Crackdown 3 we got was hastily put together in the last 12 to 18 months, because there's many signs here that show it's rushed. But that doesn't mean it's a bad game, because it's not. I had fun with this game. More fun than I've had with most other open-world games released in recent years. In fact, there's only 2 things about this game that bother me. The first one is the story. It's not a continuation of the first 2 games, even though it does make some references to them, but it takes place in an entirely different city with a new cast of characters who I don't care about. I wanted to see what happened back in Pacific City after Crackdown 2, but now we have this totally new city with these boring as fuck villains and a new side character helping you out that's somehow even more boring. Now, the other thing that bothers me is the game is way too fucking bright, especially the explosions. Now, I'm not going to pin this entirely on the game, because I have noticed I've gotten more sensitive to bright flashes as the years have gone by, but even still, going back to the first Crackdown, the explosions didn't make me squint my eyes every time they happened like they do here. And even at that, there's just so many bright neon colors that don't need to be here. It would be nice if the developer released a patch that let us turn off all these fucking Instagram filters, but I don't think that's gonna happen. But that's it. That's all that bothers me. And it didn't bother me so much that I couldn't play the game, because I played through the entire thing and had a fucking blast. There's not one particular thing that stands out, it's the whole game. It's a nice little weekend romp. It's got everything you could want. Guns, explosions, wingsuits, jumping off rooftops, all kinds of cars. Sure, you've got the occasional odd glitch here and there, but it didn't ruin my ability to enjoy the game because all things considered, this game is actually pretty well put together. The gunplay is frantic and fun, the driving controls are nice and responsive, the platforming works great. I can't find any real issues with the core gameplay. But the best thing it has going for it is something most other open-world games within the last 7 or 8 years don't have. Recently, there's been a lot of people talking about how open-world games have become very boring and grindy, because all you're doing is running around collecting a bunch of junk and other collectibles that only serve to create more work for the player, and playing for 30 minutes feels like you're playing for 3 hours. And I felt the same thing while playing a lot of these games. Now, I don't know if that really is the case, or if open-world games were always like that and none of us noticed it because we were kids, because I'm noticing the main age group talking about this problem, they're all in their late 20s to early 30s, maybe older, so I can't say 100% if it's one or the other, but I can say that I never felt this way while playing Crackdown 3. The pace this game goes at is nice and smooth. You never feel like the game is dragging, taking forever, or even rushing you, because it just goes by 1, 2, 3, nice and easy. And for an open world game to have that type of effect on me, when I've just about had it with open world games, that by itself is pretty amazing. Now the other thing, the agency car. I fucking love this thing. Not only can it turn into the buggy, rover, and tank at the push of a button once you get your driving skill up, but if you happen to lose it, you know, like moving 100 feet away from it and it disappears, or accidentally driving it into the water, no worries. Just hit the up button on the D-pad, boom, it spawns on the nearest road, just like that. And even if it gets destroyed, all you have to do is wait about a minute, then hit the up button on the D-pad once again, boom. I think we've all had plenty of times in an open world game where we had a car we really liked, then we got a little too far away from it, or we drove it into the water by accident, or it got destroyed, and we were all like, shit, that was a really good car. Especially in Grand Theft Auto. I had these really awesome cars that I just left in the garage and didn't take anywhere because I knew they were gonna vanish. But I don't have to worry about that here. For the first time ever in my life, I was able to play an open world game and not have to worry about what would happen to my favorite car. And that by itself made Crackdown 3 so much more enjoyable. I love this car so much, I didn't even bother going out of my way to collect any of the other cars in the game. I mean, I collected a couple on accident because once you jump into a new car in this game, it's automatically added to your garage. You don't have to bring it to a spawn point, and I love that too. Sure, the 17-year-old me would have cried foul at that. He probably would have said something like, oh, that's not what real games do. Real games, you gotta bring it back to your hideout or some shit like that. But the current me, I'm glad I don't have to do stuff like that. The less busy work I have to do in a video game, especially an open world one, the better. That cuts back on the tedium and keeps the game moving. And that's it. So is Crackdown 3 worth getting? If you have Game Pass, absolutely. I don't recommend outright buying it because once you play through it the first time, there's not much of a reason to give it a second go, unless you're into co-op or multiplayer, and I don't know how long that's going to hold your interest, but it's definitely worth a round of Game Pass. And plus, Microsoft has deals going on all the time, like get a month for $1 and then continue paying the usual rate, and you can easily log into your Microsoft account and turn the auto payments off, so in reality, you're paying $1 to rent this game for a month. And that's not a bad deal at all. Alright kids, thanks for watching. If you're already subbed to the channel or are about to, be sure to hit the bell so you get notified when I post a video, hit the like button, and give me some feedback. I don't care if it's good or bad.